Welcome again to another live edition of the Trish Regan Show. We got a lot going on right now. Fani Willis, her fate is kind of hanging there in the balance. So I guess in some kind of desperate last-minute ultra move, she decided to go on MSNBC with none other than Rachael Maddow to plead her case. And it did not go well. I got to show you this, guys. Meanwhile, the prosecution rests its case. The defense is calling no more witnesses in the Donald Trump hush money case. And wow, oh, wow, did we have something to see there? The jury is going to start its deliberations on Monday. Welcome to the show. I'm Trish Regan. Good to have you here. Reminder to subscribe, to like, to do all those things. Share a comment. We are live, so I can see your live comments as well. Good to have everyone as we digest some of this news. We're going to get to Fani. We're going to get to this new on the scene wannabe AOC girl who's having all kinds of catfights on the House floor in Washington, D.C. That would be a woman by the name of Jasmine Crockett that I'm talking about. After calling MTG a series of things, she then did the cable rounds, and well, she has even more to say, believe it or not. We're gonna have a good laugh on that one. But first, the news of the day: the prosecution has rested its case, if it ever had one, right? That's a big if, because I look at this and I see literally nothing. I don't even know exactly what they're going after him for, because you know what? If it were election fraud and manipulation of funds, well, then wouldn't the Federal Elections Committee have gone after him? And believe me, they're going after him with everything they can get, but they didn't have anything here on this one, so they didn't do that. It's really and truly not clear at all what kind of crime is there, other than, well, you know what? They don't want him to win. Donald Trump echoing the sentiment yet again outside the courthouse. Listen.
I'm not even being charged for it. They didn't know what to charge it. They haven't even charged me with the crime. You know what the crime is? I beat Hillary Clinton. That's what the crime is. And they don't want me to beat, on behalf of, I think, 200 million people, they don't want me to beat Biden. Okay? But it's a shame. This is what they've done.
Yeah, it's a pretty big crime. You're not allowed to win. You're not allowed to win. Think about that. He beat Hillary Clinton, and gosh, we never heard the end of it, right? It was the Russians. Jimmy Carter, former president of the United States, tried to tell us he was not a legitimate president because he won with the help of the Russians. I mean, wow. Wow. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. And now they want to make sure that no matter what, he does not win again. Well, I'll tell you, this testimony yesterday afternoon blew everyone away. Judge Mershon is totally furious. He's like, we got to deal with this Robert Costello, who has a few too many things to say. Apparently, Costello was there on the stand. And, well, I'm going to show you what he testified before Congress, because it was basically the same thing. Had quite a few things to say about Michael Cohen, et cetera, everything that went down. He used to represent Michael Cohen, incidentally. And he uttered a lot of things under his breath. So he'd say something and then blah, 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 blah. And the judge was like flipping out. Anyway, this was sort of the grand finale, if you would. Donald Trump, no, he did not testify. Wall Street Journal had a big article on this today. I'm happy he didn't testify, because I think that they would have taken this as an opportunity to really use and abuse him. Right? That would not have been, I know he wanted to testify. That's who he is. But it was only an opportunity, if you would, for prosecutors to judge up all kinds of stuff that frankly shouldn't be brought up, right? What kind of pajamas he was wearing, according to Stormy Daniels, have any relevance on the 34 charges of misappropriating finances? I don't think it has anything to do with it. In fact, this whole thing may have to go back to square one, because the judge allowed all of this. But we know why he did that, right? We know why. Because they wanted to sully him up. And the funny thing about all of this is that the more they try, the more it backfires, thereby giving him the name Teflon Don for a reason. Let's go to Robert Costello, who was testifying on Capitol Hill. It was kind of like the pre-show, if you would, to what went down yesterday afternoon in the courtroom. Let's listen.
In any event, he also said that he didn't discuss the Stormy Daniels matter with us, and he certainly did. I specifically asked him because he kept on going back saying, I can't believe they're trying to put me in jail for these NDAs. So I said, Michael, tell me about the NDA. Tell me about Stormy Daniels. What did you do? He said, I got a call from a lawyer representing Stormy Daniels who represented that she was going to testify that Donald Trump had sex with Stormy Daniels. Michael Cohen said, I didn't believe the allegation, but I knew that such an allegation would be terribly embarrassing. He said it would be embarrassing. He focused on Melania Trump. He said, I didn't want to embarrass Melania Trump. He said, that's why I decided to take care of this on my own. Right. I went back to that several times. You did this on your own? On my own. Did Donald Trump have anything to do with it? No. Did you get the money from Donald Trump? No. From any of his organizations? No. From anybody connected to Donald Trump? No. Where did you get the money? I took out a HELOC loan against my property. I said, why would you do that? He said, I didn't want anybody to know where I got this money. I didn't want Melania to know. I didn't want my own wife to know because she's in charge, he said, of the Cohen family finances. He said, if she saw money coming out of my account, she'd ask me 100 questions, and I didn't want to answer any of them. It was clear after talking to him for several days after that, whenever we talked on the phone or in my office, that he kept on bringing up the subject that he felt he was betrayed by not being brought down to Washington, D.C. This guy thought, he said to me, that he should have been Attorney General of the United States, or at least the chief assistant to the president. Ludicrous, but that's what he thought. And he was very angry about that. He wanted to do something to put himself back into the inner circle of Donald Trump. That's why he took care of this on his own. There had to be a motivation. Michael Cohen is always working for things that benefit himself. And that's what he was doing here. That's completely different to what he said that he told the grand jury. That's completely different to what he's testifying to in New York.
Oh my gosh. So just imagine what the jury got to hear. Just imagine that. So he was very forthcoming. He basically said some very similar stuff. And the judge was not pleased. The judge was not pleased. But of course, this came out after we already got the whopper that I told you about yesterday, right? That Michael Cohen stole. He admitted to stealing some $60,000, tens of thousands of dollars from the Trump organization. He full on admitted it. He said he did it because it felt like self-help, because he didn't get as big a bonus as he had anticipated and wanted to get. So there's this unbelievable story of this company that he was paying called Red Fitch to try and goose some online polls. Now, before you all freak out, or before the left freaks out, because you know they're already running with this one in ways that they just shouldn't. But of course, it's an online poll. It's like something like CNBC had one. And I think this was one that was specifically involved, saying who are the greatest business leaders of our time, or who have been the most historic business leaders. And Donald Trump wanted his name way up high. And so apparently you can pay for these things, right? Because there's some kind of algorithm where it either puts it forward to Trump supporters, or perhaps just tricks the system into, I don't know. This is like the spam stuff that you get, right? And so somehow he was rigging this poll, or hoped to, in order to probably, it was like prestige and put himself in the news cycle. Totally legal, by the way, apparently. Totally legal. It's just called internet marketing. We don't do any internet marketing here on this show. That's how you know. Every single one of you viewers, we're at like 280. We're almost at 290. Help me get to 290 this week, okay? We are almost there, ladies and gentlemen, and it's all because of you. It's all because we're organically growing. It's just incredible to see. So there's no internet marketing here. This is all legit. You guys telling each other, subscribing, just a reminder to subscribe, all that. So anyway, Trump went forward with this Red Fitch company, and Michael Cohen's out there as the fixer doing all the dirty work, and is paying these guys in cash, which is just weird in of itself. Like, who has $50,000 in cash? Well, he took tens of thousands of dollars for himself. Apparently, he only gave him 20. So I'm like, whoa, like, this is just weird. Absolutely weird. So don't get distracted by the poll thing. That's really nothing. It's internet marketing. So this company that deserved whatever 50, they were only getting whatever it was, 20 or 30, because Michael felt that he deserved a bonus. So the lawyer, upon cross-examination for Trump, said, so, effectively you stole. And he said, well, yes. And I felt that it was important because I needed this self-help. It was like self-help. Okay, you go with that. I said yesterday, there's no help in you, Michael. No help in you. All right. You have crossed the point of no return. And now even MSNBC is coming to this realization. Let me show you this MSNBC legal analyst, because this guy was on the other day and it was really funny to me because I actually made a point of showing you this. He was defending Michael Cohen, even though Michael Cohen was a known liar. And he's like, oh no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Watch him, because I want you to see this change of tune.
A lot of folks seem to think this was a devastating blow for the prosecution. I don't see it that way. I doubt the prosecution sees it that way. I would bet the defense doesn't even consider it that. Michael Cohen is a cooperating witness. By definition, he...
Okay. So he was like, no big deal. I don't see it as a problem. Who cares that he lies? Well, then it came out that not only does he lie, he steals. And that kind of got to the MSNBC analyst. Take a look again, 24 hours later.
There may have been a real moment here just in the last few minutes in that Michael Cohen was caught in cross-examination. They asked him about a transaction with another company where he admitted to stealing cash from the Trump organization. Now, throughout this trial, consider this. The prosecution has painted Michael Cohen as sort of this bumbling, pathetic character whose only sins were his misguided, undying loyalty to Donald Trump. Did you lie to Congress? Yes, I did, but I did it because I was in the sway of the Svengali hold of Donald Trump. But now you see something a little different. Now there's an argument to be made that actually you're just an opportunistic thief.
Exactly. So what kind of jury is going to convict Donald Trump? I mean, let's not get too optimistic here. They're just a bunch of hacks that have a political axe to grind. I'm hopeful that's not the case, but you never know. It's New York City, and they chose this jury for a reason. They chose to actually prosecute this in New York City. Do not forget, for a reason. The number 3 person in charge there at the DOJ left the DOJ and joined Alvin Bragg's team there in New York City for a reason. So they think they're going to get him. I'd say, you know what? Don't count your chickens before they hatch, guys. And you know what? If you do get him, and if you actually send him to jail on something like this, that's like guaranteed. Guaranteed November 2024, Donald Trump is the next president of the United States. As we have learned thus far, every single poll shows us what? Oh, that he's climbing. He's climbing, because the more you attack him, the more everyday Americans are like, wow, this is messed up. And they sympathize with him. They have empathy for the situation that he's going through. I mean, when Letitia James comes out with a $500 million, $500 million fine against the guy because he did a deal with Deutsche Bank and himself, and no one lost money, i.e. there was no victim, everyday Americans are like, oh my gosh, our lawfare system is quite real. In other words, that talk of lawfare instead of warfare is coming to fruition, and people recognize it, and it frightens them, as it should. Frightens me. And what kind of country do you have if you can't depend on a court of law? If you've got rabid political prosecutors like Letitia James and Alvin Bragg and Fani Willis and Jack Smith, who are trying to build their careers on the back of getting this guy off the ticket, then I don't know what to tell you. And neither do everyday Americans. We're talking independents right now that are just disgusted with this, which is why poll after poll after poll after poll has Donald Trump ahead. Fani Willis now in the hot seat. She thought maybe she could save herself a little bit, redeem herself as some kind of, redemption trial that she's going through with Rachael Maddow over on MSNBC. Rachael, who pled Fani's case quite poorly, but let's watch Fani first, because Fani's in a lot of trouble. just to break it down, as we await the jury's decision on Donald Trump, they're going to begin deliberations next week in New York City. Down in Fulton County, there's a whole other thing going on because everybody's kind of realized that Fani Willis is, dare I say, corrupt. It's alleged anyway that she's corrupt. But I would just start with this. If you're hiring your boyfriend to the tune of $600,000 a year and not telling anybody, that's kind of corrupt. And it's actually a big deal that they started their fling before he was employed, because if a good forensic accountant can get in there and prove this out legally, I'm saying join forces with the ex-wife, Nathan Wade's ex-wife, because she needs a forensic accountant to figure out where the heck her husband was spending all that money. So if he's earning all this money because he's the boyfriend of Fani Willis, well, then that's kind of a problem, especially if Fani was getting any kind of kickback on the side. I'm talking monetary kickback on the side, right? Was she skimming anything off the top? That's the question that people are going to be asking and should be asking. And by the way, it's the question that Republicans are asking in Georgia. And it's the question that Jim Jordan is getting at as well. Well, Jim Jordan also wants to know, to what extent was there any coordination between Fani Willis, Alvin Bragg, the Department of Justice, Jack Smith, etc.? I mean, why is it that Fani Willis was going to the White House to supposedly hang out with Kamala Harris? They say, she's just going to a party. Why is it that Nathan Wade was going to the White House? Why is it that he was charging Fulton County taxpayers to go to the White House? These are questions that Jim Jordan is asking, and Jim Jordan deserves answers to. So Fani, on election day for her, and, she should be able to win this. This is a primary, whatever. She's going to face some stiff competition with the Republican, mind you, coming up. But Fani Willis went on to MSNBC to a very sympathetic ear in the chief conspiracy theorist of the left, that would be Rachael Maddow, ladies and gentlemen, and had this to say. Let's watch.
Anyone who knows Jim Jordan's history knows that he only has the purpose of trying to interfere in a criminal investigation. He has now turned his tricks to, he's going to look at grant programs, which I invite him to do, and we have complied with his subpoenas, but yet he continues his attacks to try to interfere in a criminal investigation, while his jurisdiction has one of the worst crime rates, has poverty issues, and not one time has he used his position to try to investigate people who are attacking me and attacking others legitimately doing their jobs, making him illegitimate in his position, and it's disgusting.
Oh, no, you know what's disgusting? What's disgusting is what you have done down in Fulton County. A county, by the way, that is in a whole other set of nastiness and trouble because, well, it turns out that they double counted somehow mysteriously. Oh, it's just a mistake. Down in Fulton County, they double counted the votes, and now they have to have an election overseer come in November because the Georgia Elections Oversight Board found that they were counting votes twice. So like 3,000 votes got counted twice, whatever, down there in Fulton County, Georgia. So they have an interesting way of rolling, and their DA there, Fani Willis, is out for blood, and she has to be, right? This is what she campaigned on. She's got all kinds of Democrat money backing her with the expectation that she goes after Trump. So when Jim Jordan says, hey, let's take a time out and let's figure out whether or not you guys are coordinating efforts at all, whether there's something nationally here at play, she's like freaking out, goes on offense. So this wasn't just redemption. This was also offense. By the way, we had to hear her over and over and over again talk about how rough it is from a personal perspective. Listen, lady, that's what you signed up for goodness sakes. I mean, that's the job you have. Hate to break it to you, but I don't think any DA has it easy. Thank you very much. And you decided to take on the president, former president of the United States of America. So, you know what? It is what it is. I mean, I'm not saying it's fair and I'm not saying it's great. Nobody likes being in the public eye like that. Believe me, it's not fun, but there's a certain kind of expectation one should have when you get into that line of work. And so she's brought this on. It's one of the reasons why I said, she should have had a very clean house herself. What's the expression? Those living in glass houses should not throw stones. And you knew they were going to uncover something. I mean, who knew it was going to be the ex-wife who was divorcing Nathan Wade and actually discovered that there was all kinds of impropriety going on. Yeah, from the woman who told us she would never take up with one of her employees and would certainly never spend taxpayer dollars on one of her employees. I want to go to another Fani clip from MSNBC as she was on this sort of redemption tour and attack tour of Jim Jordan. Here we go.
At the state level, they've decided to follow this clown's lead. And they want to now try to interfere in an investigation. And it's not legitimate either. And so it shall fail.
You hope so. You hope so, lady. She's now got the feds after her. She's got the state after her. And I think that they're after her for good reason, which is more, by the way, than she's got to go after Donald Trump with. I mean, if you want to call a spade a spade. Here she is, though, in Georgia, saying she's not going to comply. I mean, she's like pulling a Steve Bannon here, right? Like, Steve is facing jail time. So is Peter Navarro, right? Because they don't want to comply with the subpoena. And then there's Fani Willis saying the same darn thing. Take it away, Drew.
You appear before a Georgia Senate committee without a subpoena?
Well, first of all, I don't even think they have the authority to subpoena me, but they need to learn the law.
So will you appear, yes or no?
I will not appear to anything that is unlawful. And I have not broken the law in any way. I said it, I'll say it amongst these leaders. I'm sorry folks get pissed off that everybody gets treated evenly.
All right. I think she answered that very well.
Okay, so she's not going to go show up for testimony when she's being asked to do so by Georgia Republicans. I'm sorry, Fani, that's not how it works. You ought to know, right? You're a lawyer. You ought to know. You're going to have to answer these questions. I think she's finally come to that realization. She did get herself a lawyer, actually. I think one of Rachel's friends. And she's come to the realization that she's actually in a little bit of trouble. Maybe a lot of trouble. But it is what it is. I mean, I don't have any sympathy. Do you? I'm curious. Again, it's a live show, but if you're watching after we are live, make sure you make comments below. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, all of that good stuff. I got to show you Rachael Maddow's reaction to this. Rachael Maddow is like melting down over poor Fani. Oh my gosh, it's just terrible that people are upset with Fani. I mean, she is, after all, a prosecutor down in Fulton County, Georgia. And when you are a prosecutor of any kind, right? Like, it doesn't even have to be the Trump thing. You run certain risks, period. Like, you have to accept that you're in the public eye. It comes with the job, just like being Rachael Maddow comes with, well, unfortunately for her, being Rachael Maddow. That's not something I would envy in any way, shape, or form for a variety of reasons. But anyway, MSNBC's Rachael Maddow is sort of doubling down on her desperate plea to make life better for Fani, because you know what? We need people like Fani. We need people. We don't have a country without people like Fani. Yeah. Here we go.
The history of the rule of law in this country tells us that the rule of law does not magically defend itself. And it is mortal. It can be killed. When it is attacked, it breaks. The rule of law in this country, in practical terms, is made up of people doing hard jobs who themselves can break when they are attacked. And right now, you and I, all of us, we are making history in this country. And the history that we are making is that there's no one defending Fani Willis but herself. And in the, noble alternate version we'd like to imagine we would be part of, the whole country would be up in arms about Georgia and about New York and about all of these cases, telling these people to back off the judges, back off the witnesses and the jurors, back off the prosecutors, back off Fani Willis, protect these cases, protect the rule of law. We imagine that's who we are as a country, but we are not showing it. We are not standing up to defend these people. At least, not yet.
Okay, so that doesn't apply to Trump at all? I mean, like, the rule of law does not apply to him? Letitia James is perfectly fine to go after the former president of the United States, or anybody for that matter. She could go after you because she doesn't like you. She doesn't like your politics. Maybe the people that helped get her elected had a vendetta against you and your business. And now you're suddenly vulnerable because you misspoke or inflated the square footage on your apartment, now she can go after you because she thinks that you're estimating your vacation home for a value that is greater than she deems appropriate. I mean, it's laughable. She's trying to say that Mar-a-Lago is worth $18 million. I mean, in that case, I'll buy it. Thank you very much. Right? I mean, you take that trade all day long. Letitia, you got to scrounge up a few because you should buy it in that case. Maybe that's what she's trying to do here, ladies and gentlemen. She's trying to have some kind of fire sale a la Venezuela. You talk Banana Republic. That's what this is, right? We have a fire sale. We grab up everything that we want. We'll get Trump's golf course over here, this one over here. We'll take Trump Tower. That's what she was aiming for. How insane is that? Rachael Maddow, where are you, girl? Where are you on the stuff that actually is going on in real time? Oh, we know where you are. You're way out in left field, just like you were throughout the Russia stuff. I mean, the excitement in that woman's voice. And I kept saying to people, like, at the time I was working at Fox, and everybody thought Fox was the conspiracy theory. And I'm like, no, excuse me. Have you watched MSNBC by any chance lately? I mean, she was weaving together all kinds of concoctions. I mean, that was just nauseating. And she's continuing to do it. She's down to what, once a week there? Thank God. Now we just have to hear the others. But she really has taken conspiracy level stuff to a whole new angle. And now she's trying to say that it is all based on freedom and democracy and blah, 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 and the rule of law. No, if there was any concern for the rule of law, let me be very frank, we wouldn't be looking at 91 indictments against the guy. Like, that's messed up. If Rachel could possibly ever understand it. I actually think she does. I think she understands it quite well. I have had some interactions with her in the past. She's been quite lovely. Of course, she's playing for the other team, and it's me. Just kidding. But she was perfectly fine to me. I used to work at NBC. I would say this. She's also friends with Tucker Carlson, and they seem to have a nice relationship. And at one point, the founder of Fox tried to hire her. And I would say that she knows exactly what she's doing, and she's an entertainer. And that's kind of sad because it's what you call irresponsible entertainment when you're manipulating people like that. And look, I just call it like I see it. You know that. Sure, I have a bias, but I'm actually a registered independent. Look, I'll take you. You know what? You want to cut taxes. You want to secure the border. You want to put more power in the hands of the people? You want to keep us safe? Like, you got me, okay? And by the way, this doesn't have to be a partisan thing. Don't forget JFK cut taxes. Okay, so I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, what I care about is our safety, our freedom, our rights. I'm not convinced she does. I think she cares about this sort of communist insanity, and I don't get it because the woman's making a lot of money. It's not like she's donating it. I mean, hey, Rachel, if you're that passionate about this so-called socialism agenda, which borders on pure communism, then give a little back. But we know how they work, right? You know how they work. The communists, they live high on the hog themselves. That's the problem. That is indeed the problem. I see you guys like my pink dress. Thank you. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, thank you for doing that, or on Spotify. You can always listen to the Trish Regan Show there. If you are watching, good for you, because I'm looking at all your comments there in live time. And yes, you like that. I like this pink dress too. In fact, I like this dress so much I bought it in every color because, why not? Don, I'm trying to get 1,000 likes. I agree with you. Everybody, like the show, subscribe to the show, share the show, make a comment, join the conversation. Again, we are live. We get some team members here like Mike and Don, some of our regulars. David Lorenzo, he's here as well. I know I've seen that name before. I'm looking for Leslie. I think she's in there too. Anyway, great to have all you guys back here. I want to give a quick shout out. Don, we got to 1,000. 1,000 of you need to help. Oh, no, we didn't. Okay, so Don's on your case. Listen to him. He's such a good influence on us here on this program and on this show and in this community because he is an experienced sort of YouTube person, and Don like understands the power of the likes and the sharing and the subscribing and all that kind of stuff, because it helps the algorithm, believe it or not. And we always want to help the algorithm, right? Because then we're stronger together. I saw the other comment. Yes, nice comment on the pink dress. I'm getting a few of those. So I will take some of the credit because I picked it out, but I'm also going to give some of the credit to one of our great sponsors here on the Trish Regan program, and that would be Balance of Nature, because I take my fruits and veggies every single day, and they give them to me here over at Balance of Nature. You can get them too. 1-800-246-8751. Discount code Trish for 35% off. It matters, right? 35% off, plus you get free shipping, plus you get an extra $10 off. I don't think anybody else can beat that deal. But they're a wonderful company. They've been around for quite some time. I know so many of you actually already take it. Leslie has told me she takes it. My kid's music teacher called me the other day and was like, hey, oh my gosh, Trish, I listened to your show. And by the way, I take Balance of Nature. And I'm so happy that they're a sponsor with you. And so we're happy to have them. I love this stuff. Fruits and veggies. I'm getting my vitamin D somehow, some way, thanks to these guys. So check them out, balanceofnature.com. Code word Trish for your discount, TRISH. Okay, we got to get to this fantastic meme. So I look at everything that's going on right now, and it feels very Banana Republic-esque. And I have a little experience with this, right? Because I have reported a lot on Latin America. I am well-versed in the politics and the economics and the economic challenges that these emerging market countries face. In fact, my first job right out of school was actually at Goldman Sachs. I was working on the sovereign debt desk, fixed income. So we were trading Argentina, Mexico, Brazil, and Venezuela. I almost missed one. And, you know, it's amazing because these are sort of the banana republics, right? Venezuela being certainly one of them. In 1999, when I had started there, Hugo Chavez had just come to power, and we're like, okay, you know, maybe he won't be that bad. I mean, you got Lula down in Brazil, and Lula's like totally a commie, right? Like he was running all the unions, et cetera. We thought Lula was going to be the disaster. It turned out Lula was willing to adapt a few more capitalist principles in order to help his Brazilian economy grow at that time. Not necessarily the case now, but back in 1999, it was a little bit different. It was Hugo Chavez that turned out to be the real disaster. And so when I look at America today and I see everything that's happening with Donald Trump and Letitia James and Alvin Bragg and Jack Smith and Fani Willis, or Fani, as she likes to be called, and as Rachael Maddow and those at MSNBC do call her. So forgive me for mispronouncing her name. I'm just, you know, simple girl from New Hampshire. So Fani and the rest of them are out there trying to go after a politician, much like you would see in any of these countries that I first started covering, for lack of a better term, because I was an analyst there. And one of the things I had to do was write up a report every day on what was going on economically, politically, there in these crazy banana republics. So I stumbled across a meme. Actually, this was our friend Mike, right? True? Mike, who sent this out in his daily note. I think he's on vacation right now, but one of our friends sends a little note around, and this was terrific because he's got a meme that he found. I guess this is via a guy named Simon Conway, and I love it. America, take 50% off your entire net worth. Banana Republic, here we come. And doesn't he look good there? I mean, this is actually a handsome picture of Joe Biden. What do you know? I died. I saw that. And I'm like, this is so true. I mean, it's really, look, we've got major inflation. He wants to introduce more taxes. Like, we can handle that. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be bad for the economy. We've got so much inflation, and he yet wants to drive it even higher because what is the latest and greatest? Oh, we got to find a way around the Supreme Court, a la Banana Republic, because we've got to get all those students forgiveness on their loans. I mean, how else are they going to vote for me, right? That's what you call buying votes. That's what they do in banana republics. I remember talking to someone about Venezuela, and we were discussing like what was going to be happening in one of the elections. And obviously you want U.S. interests represented. There are a lot of still mutual fund holders, right, that had investments there, fixed income investments in Venezuelan debt. So how are they ever going to recover that payment? Well, it was really important that whoever became elected again was willing to service that debt. And I remember asking, well, how do you, there's ways that they manipulate the vote. Unfortunately, they were not successful because Maduro is still in power. I don't think that you would have Maduro there if actually you were successful in manipulating the vote. But I do think that Venezuela is a great example of what we don't want to become. And we are in jeopardy, ladies and gentlemen, of becoming very, very soon if you allow too much power into the hands of a chosen few. It's actually one of the reasons why I think it's so important for everybody to think through sort of their individual investments and what they're doing. It's one of the reasons I started 76 Research with my really good friend, Rob Horden. Rob and I started this because we wanted everybody to have access to the best possible research. This stuff goes for like thousands of dollars on Wall Street. Rob is a former fund manager. He's managed billions of dollars and made just outstanding calls over the years. In fact, not just over the years, since we started 76 Research, some more outstanding calls. We were just profiling a stock that's up 22% from the day that we told everybody to go in and buy it. Not that we believe in buying and selling or getting in and out of things quickly, although there's some interesting opportunities. I don't know if you guys saw that Mr. Alito, Sam Alito, that would be Supreme Court Justice Alito, actually bought, I'm wondering if he's watching this show, because I did tell you this was actually Rob's trade. Rob himself went in when the whole Dylan Mulvaney thing happened over at Bud Light and sold shares of Bud and bought shares of Coors. But then after he made some 20 or 25%, remember, I told you guys this at the time. I didn't tell you it was Rob because I was trying to keep his identity somewhat confidential until I got him to come over to 76 Research. But anyway, I told you about this at the time because I was like, this is not a bad trade. A friend of mine is doing this. And then when he exited, I made the point that, look, it's a kind of a good run, right? Sometimes you take the money and run. He was up 20, 25%. Mr. Alito, however, he was smart because he did actually make the trade into Coors, but he must not have been watching on the episode when I mentioned that Rob actually then, cashed in his profits. Again, I'm not advising anybody to get in and out of stocks quickly. I mean, I do believe that you want to hold things for the long term. But one of the things that we do try and do at 76 Research is spot opportunities for you and then also help you understand when maybe the opportunity has run its course. And those are sometimes hard decisions, but, and I don't believe in selling a ton only because then you get stuck with the tax hit, shall we say. But we do have a lot of good information in there. So go to 76research.com, sign up, get one of the model portfolios, 10 to 15 stock picks in each one of those. And I promise you, you will be happy with that. It is world-class research at a hugely discounted price. Anyway, we are a banana republic. That's the reality of it. We have to protect ourselves in this environment. It's one of the reasons why I think you see so many people looking at gold. Gold has just been on a tear. We've been looking at it. Let me see what it's doing today as we look at a stock market that, people say, well, why is it up to 40,000? How is that possible? Why is the market on fire? Well, there's inflationary forces. Don't kid yourself, in the market as well. And so part of that comes into being. We're just below 40,000 at this moment, and gold is $2,428 an ounce. I mean, that is incredible. There are some analysts calling for 3,000, ladies and gentlemen. And as I look at this, the reality is just pretty simple, and that's that we're printing a lot of money. We've got really bad long-term economic headwinds, and people are saying, you've got so many central banks, right? So many central banks in this world that are trying to, in some way, diversify away from the U.S. dollar, because who's to say that the U.S. couldn't pull a Russia move on them and say, hey, we don't want your, forget about the rubles. We're not taking those anymore. So there are many emerging market countries that are a little bit nervous. And as a result, their central banks are buying more gold. That's creating more demand. And then you have China, which just in the last few months has exploded in terms of personal consumer demand. They're nervous about their government. They're nervous about their currency. So what do? They buy gold. So it's just amazing to watch this. If you're interested in buying gold or if you're interested in buying silver, I got a great deal for you. Another one of our great sponsors on the show, American Heart for Gold. I just teamed up with them quite recently because I loved this offer, $15,000, up to $15,000 in free silver. Wow, right? Like, that's pretty awesome. 1-844-495-1115, or just text Trish, my name. This is easy, to 65532 for more information. Again, Text Trish to 65532. I'm actually going to put this in the chat just in case you guys are actually interested. And they're really good. It's not like high pressure or anything. But what's cool about it is it's a place where you can actually buy physical gold. And if that's something that you want to keep it in your safe deposit box, you want to keep it in your home, you want to keep whatever it is, you can put like $1 million, not that anybody has $1 million to spend on gold, but you can put $1 million worth of gold in a shoebox. I find that kind of amazing. You can also go to Trish Loves Gold, aptly named. I'm not materialistic, you should know that, but I am a believer in making sure that you can take care of yourself and your family. And I don't have a lot of faith in the government right now. That's just the reality. So text Trish to 65532 or go to trishlovesgold.com for your chance to get up to $15,000 of free silver. Oh, wow. Inflation. I looked, Drew, I don't know if you have this, but did you see the incredible fast food graphic that's circulating? I think Clay Travis actually tweeted this out. Oh, look at that. Drew is like a magician. So this is incredible to me because it's so true. Believe it or not, this is how you know balance of nature is working. Believe it or not, I eat a lot of McDonald's. Actually, I think I have that in common with Trump. I actually really like McDonald's. I always have, and I get the same exact thing every single time, which is how I really know prices have gone up. I get a medium French fry, a plain hamburger, nothing on it, no ketchup, no relish, I don't actually like any condiments whatsoever. So just the meat and the bread and a Diet Coke. And so I know I keep looking at these things. My kids like it too. So we get a lot of the Uber Eats. And I'm like, what is going on? Why am I spending so much money on McDonald's? Well, here's why. Because at the end of 2019, it was $1.79 for those medium French fries that I like. Mid-year this year, it's $4.19. That's a 134% increase. I mean, that's crazy. A cheeseburger. Now, I just get the plain hamburger. But sometimes I buy the cheeseburger and just tell them no cheese. That's up 215%, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, this is Biden's America. This is the inflation that we're dealing with. And so I sat down just yesterday with Ken Strang over at AFP. He's absolutely brilliant on economic issues. And what I love is they've got a big thing that they got going on right now where if you go to Bidenomics.com, yeah, funny, right? They bought the Bidenomics thing because all the TikTokers there at the White House forgot to do that. Bidenomics.com, you can find out where they're holding their sort of promo events for AFP, Americans for Prosperity, where you can get the $2 and some odd cents. I think it's $2.38 a gallon gas. They'll fill up your tank for $2.38. And you can commiserate about how rough it is right now with gas prices being where they are. But there's a lot of reasons for it, a lot. And this is what we talked about. Listen to Kent here. We just recorded this yesterday afternoon. I'm still here with you on the chat. So listen, watch, let me know what you think. Kent, so good to have you here. I mean, I'm looking at these gas prices. It's out of control. I feel like, I'm starting to feel like my grandmother back in the old days. But back in the old days wasn't that long ago. I mean, what was it, $2.38? And now what are we looking at?
Right now, the national average of a gallon of gas is $3.59. That's a long way from $2.38 when Joe Biden took office, right?
Oh, yeah. No, people are feeling it. I mean, it hurts. It hurts. By the way, I love what you guys are doing. I'm going to give it a big plug right in the beginning because Kent, of course, works with AFP, and Americans for Prosperity has this great thing where they're out there lowering gas prices back to the $2.38 a gallon all over the country. Different gas stations, regional gas stations are participating in this. So you can go to Bidenomics.com to figure out if your gas station is participating. But it's just for a brief moment in time so we can feel kind of nostalgic. Right?
That's right. So since Joe Biden came to office, Americans are paying $11,400 more just to maintain their lifestyle. And a huge part of that is energy costs and gasoline. Energy is up 41% since Biden took office. And the day that Joe Biden entered office, the national average of a gallon of gas was $2.38. And so we saw that huge peak a couple of years ago when it hit an all-time high of $5. And now, as we talked about just a moment ago, it's sitting around $3.59, $3.60, and it really crushes American families as they go out to travel for the unofficial start of summer at Memorial Day.
Sure. I think it's really penalizing. And what hurts me is that Joe Biden and the Democrats, they say they're out there trying to help the working man, right? The middle class Americans. And in fact, the policies that have been put in place have done anything but that. They've really hurt the average family. And so it seems really, to me, in some ways, totally unfair, because I get it. You want to switch to green. Okay, great. But you don't have to do it at the expense of the middle class. You don't have to hurt them like you're hurting them. $11,000 plus. My gosh.
Yeah, Biden has this talking point that is, I'm building an economy from the bottom up and the middle out. But what a absolute fib that is, right? As you said, the folks who are struggling the most cannot afford Joe Biden's energy costs, whether it's to heat and cool their home, whether it's to buy gas, or whether it's to go to the grocery store, where they feel that pain of Bidenomics every single day. And those everyday items that everybody has to buy, doesn't matter what your socioeconomic level is, the folks that are less fortunate or the folks that are struggling to get by are absolutely getting crushed under Joe Biden's failed energy policies and inflationary policy.
You know, and I think it's having a big effect on the poll numbers when you look at how much Donald Trump is seeing success in these swing states. I think so much of it comes back to the economy. It really is the economy, stupid. And look, you need a decent economy to have the luxury of being able to focus on other issues. When people can't pay the bills, and they can't right now, you've got a whole subset of problems. When you mention that $11,000 plus that your average family is having to pay in their outgoing expenses now under this administration versus the previous, I mean, think about it. Kent, wages have not gone up. It's not like people are making they're making a little bit more. We have seen some real wage growth, but adjusted for inflation, it's still costing them more, isn't it?
That's right. Bidenomics has been an abject failure. It cost Americans more. And again, Americans feel that. We host events across the country, across our 37 state chapters, where we've been talking to folks about inflation, hosting events at grocery stores and giving them an inflation-adjusted discount on their groceries. The gas events, where what we're going to do is we're going to select gas stations and we're taking that daily price, no matter what it is, so $3.89, and dropping it down to $2.38, and connecting those Americans with, hey, just a couple short years ago, this is how much a gallon of gas cost you. But because of the failed policies of Biden and his allies in Congress and his unwillingness to unleash energy abundance, we're stuck here at $3.60 or more to pay for gas, and to really show them that difference between here's what the price is today and here's the price before these failed policies took action.
You know, it's funny. I mean, you can do that. I think they know, though. It's great. And people should go to Bidenomics.com and figure out if AFP is having an event in your area, because you might as well get the $2.89 or $2.38. It's amazing, $2.38. But people know. And look, I go back to, as you do, the policy itself. I want to share with you a clip from when Jennifer Granholm, our current energy secretary, the viewers know I love this one, because when she came into office, she went on a network I used to work at, Bloomberg Television, and spoke with Tom Keene. He asked her just simply, hey, you know what? What is the Granholm plan to bring down energy prices? Because they're pretty steep. And she laughed. She laughed like a hyena. And then she blames OPEC, of all things. I'd like to get your reaction to this. Here is the Secretary of U.S. Energy saying she can't do a darn thing about energy prices.
In Sturgis, Michigan, it is $2.89 a gallon. I guess that's better than in California. What is the Granholm plan to increase oil production in America?
Oh my God, that is hilarious. Would that I had the magic wand on this. As you know, of course, oil is a global market. It is controlled by a cartel. That cartel is called OPEC, and they made a decision yesterday that they were not going to increase beyond what they were already planning.
I mean, there you go, Kent. I'm just looking at it and saying, really? Like, you can't do anything. What's wrong with that? Because I think actually the U.S. government, the energy secretary, could do a few different things to try and help bring down energy prices.
Well, first of all, I don't know if my eyes can roll back into the back of my head far enough, but the laughter, like that's what you really think about struggling families who are paying more, rather than trying to sympathize with them and talk about how hard it is. It's immediately laughter of like, well, I can't do anything. And that's what this administration has done from day one. Blame, 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 defect, deflect, deflect. And so at first inflation was transitory, and then it's Putin's price hike. And then let's blame it on everybody else. Oh, it's going down and we fixed it. And it's always somebody else's problem. And I think that you see Granholm do that here where, oh, it's OPEC's problem. They don't want to talk about that we haven't built a refinery in America in 40 years. They don't want to talk about the fact that Joe Biden has, again, maybe not for gas prices, but for energy prices, shut down the Keystone pipeline. He's putting limitations on liquid natural gas ports. They're doing everything they can to try to stop energy abundance here in America. And what they want to do is a bunch of corporate handouts to green energy deals and try to pick and choose winners and losers in the marketplace, rather than making it that we have reliable, safe, affordable energy. And it's just added to the list of disasters of this administration when it comes to energy and prices.
I mean, it sounds to me like crony capitalism, what you just mentioned about green energy. And look, I got nothing against green energy. I'm looking at some solar panels for my house. Nothing against it. Okay, fine, great. But the point is, you can't just flip a switch and have everything change overnight, because if you do, there's going to be a whole group of people that get caught in the transition, and it's not fair, it's not right. Not to mention, just from a national security standpoint, and you know that's kind of big with people like me, and I'm sure with people like you, and I know everybody who's watching this thing. I mean, we want to be energy independent. We shouldn't have to rely on the Middle East, especially in light of everything that's happening right now.
Absolutely. We're blessed with some pretty incredible technologies and innovation in this country, and natural resources and mines that can have a all of the above energy policy. And we should absolutely be looking for an all of the above energy policy. But right now, the Biden administration is only looking at, again, corporate handouts to Green New Deal companies to try to advance their progressive left-wing agenda, rather than trying to bring down prices for the American people with safe and reliable and affordable energy.
Would you characterize this as pretty unequal and pretty unfair? I mean, because again, like if you can afford the Tesla, by the way, Jennifer Granholm, I think, told everybody early on that they should just go buy an EV. So if you can afford the Tesla, great. But if you're an everyday American that is just trying to get by, you're paying $11,000 plus a month out, forgive me, not a month, a year out right now, thanks to Joe Biden's inflation. What's the answer? Because I see this as very unfair treatment, and I think that people need to speak up and say something, and heck, get themselves right down to those voting booths, or fill out an absentee ballot, whatever you have to do, but make sure that your voice is heard.
Well, number one is we need permitting reform in this country. We can't build anything. We can't make anything to help make this go faster. There are bottlenecks because permittings won't allow projects to deliver energy. They won't even let them get off the ground, or they put them in lawsuits until they just give up on the projects because they're no longer affordable. But I can tell you this, in talking to folks, I've been across the country over the last couple of years, talking to folks about inflation, and specifically at gas stations, and talking about gas prices at events like what we're going to have this week, where we're going to roll the price of a gallon of gas back to $2.38, which is what it was when Joe Biden took office. And folks are literally choosing between, am I getting gas this week or am I getting groceries? Those are the choices they're making. And so I would love for Granholm or President Biden or Kamala Harris to come to one of our events and talk to real people. Don't isolate yourself on your ivory tower in Washington. Come to one of our events, talk to the people that are hurting, talk to the folks who haven't heard a click with a full tank of gas in over a year, talk to the folks who are choosing between diapers and formula or filling up their tank. These are real problems, and we talk to Americans about it every single day. And so if you have an opportunity and you're near one of these locations, please check out Bidenomics.com. That's right. Bidenomics.com.
I know you
That's
guys
the
got
site.
that. That cracks me up. Just a quick aside. See, this is how you know they're smart. With all the TikTokers they got there in the administration, somebody somehow never came up with the brilliant idea to actually secure the handle Bidenomics.com, but Americans for Prosperity did. So kudos to you, Kent. Bidenomics.com, and we can find out about where the events are, right? Including being able to fill our gas tank at $2.38.
Yeah, I'll get there early because there's normally a long line to get there. And we have tickets that first 100, 150, 200 cars, whatever the deal is at that particular location. And we're working with a lot of independent gas stations to make this happen. So we can talk to folks directly about this message. And it's not, it's one of those things where, yeah, you got to get there early, but you're going to hear specifically those stories about how folks are struggling with higher prices, the trade-offs they're making in their life, again, whether it's gas or groceries. And it's a great opportunity to really feel the pulse of what's happening in America. And so please check out Bidenomics.com, I think /events. And you can see if there's one in your area. I think we're in 20
well,
different
thanks for getting
states.
out the word. I mean, this is one where, you had me at hello, I guess, because it's so amazingly obvious. And I'm just blown away by the lack of sophistication there in our energy department, in our State Department, because it's a national security issue, and in our economic department, whether it be Janet Yellen, who's had a great career in the ivory tower, right? Or whether it be Jared Bernstein, who's National Economic Council of Advisors, who, by the way, hasn't had any business experience or economic experience. I thought he was an economist, but actually he's a former music major. Nothing against them. I was a music major once too, turned social worker. So I just think that we don't have enough smart people making smart decisions about the future. And you know what? This is what you get, ladies and gentlemen. This is what you get. So go check out Bidenomics.com. Go to one of these events, fill your tank, and talk to fellow Americans that are experiencing the frustration that I know you are. Thank you, Kent. So good to have you here today. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's awesome. I mean, can you believe how cheap everything was? I'm blown away by how rapidly costs have increased. And I think the reality is we are going back to a stagflation kind of environment. We're going to need to get goosed somehow, some way. I mean, that's why it's so important who wins this next election. It's so important that we not just get the Oval Office, but we get the House and we get the Senate, because this stuff is really, really, really important. I mean, it just is. Really quick, one of the, I think was it Monty? One of our viewers in the chat reminded us that, of course, Klaus Schwab is stepping down from Davos today, which is interesting news. I mean, he's built quite an organization. He founded it 50 years ago. Davos, it's actually the World Economic Forum. And Mr. Schwab actually was able to bring a lot of economic thought from a globalist perspective, as you well know, to the forefront. And Davos became sort of the be all, right? The place to be seen and for new ideas to be heard, many of which were not necessarily that beneficial to those in the middle class. And I think that for that reason, a lot of people really felt like and do feel like Davos has not necessarily been the best influence on things. It's so funny because they're obsessed with equality and DEI and all these things over at Davos. And I always get a kick out of it because, guys, I remember I was supposed to go one year for Bloomberg and we had everything in place. And then it turned out that we couldn't get the right badge. And I'm like, well, who cares? I'll just go, right? I'm going to do my interviews. And they're like, but no, you can't go to the right parties. I'm like, trust me, I don't care about going to any parties. Like, I'm there to do a job. And I want to interview Jamie Dimon and I want to interview this one and that one. I had great interviews lined up. Jamie Dimon, the head of JP Morgan Chase. And the Bloomberg team was like, oh, no, we can't have it. And I can't remember which badge this was. Unfortunately, I have to go back and look at my notes or something. But it was like you had to call it an orange badge, and they could only get me a silver or gold or purple. And they were like, well, you just can't. Like, it's not proper to be seen without the right badge. And I'm like, you people got to be kidding me. I mean, really and truly kidding me. Somehow the Bloomberg anchor couldn't be at Davos without the right badge on her chest. I mean, you want to talk about the personification of seeing things through a class-based system with an organization that was supposed to be about equality. They're sitting there wearing the equality thing on their sleeve, preaching this DEI over and over and over again, and ESG over and over again. And yet my own news organization was like, we can't do this because you're not going to have the right badge and it's going to be embarrassing for you. No, I'm like, it's embarrassing for you guys. It's not embarrassing for me. I'm there to do a job. I don't care what badge I have, for goodness sakes, but that's me. I'm really not interested in going to their glorious parties anyway. Thank you very much. So he's stepping down, and so I guess he's passing the torch on to his family because his kids are going to continue in the tradition there, and they'll run that major conference. Look at that. It brings in $500 million in revenue. That's one heck of a business. Klaus, you got going there for yourself. It costs a fortune. And when they only hand out so many special badges, people are just forking over all kinds of tens of thousands of dollars to make sure that they get the right one. But there's always a rush on them because it's like getting that fancy Hermes handbag, right? Like people want this bag and they won't sell it to you for some obscene amount of money. I don't even know how much these things cost. With inflation, they're probably even higher, but I think they were like 20 grand or something. I'm sure my numbers are way off because hey, if the cheeseburger is more than 200% higher at McDonald's, God knows what the Hermes bag is these days. Anyway, we talk about how we need to get the House, we need to get the Senate, we need to get the Oval Office. Let me show you just a little glimpse of how bad things are in the House right now, ladies and gentlemen. Have you heard of a woman named Jasmine Crockett? Probably not. She's a bit of a newcomer out of Texas, and she's trying to give AOC a run for her money. You see, Alexandra Occasio Cortez, well, apparently she's not going to have the monopoly on stupidity anymore because you get somebody who's actually really challenging her in that field. Dare I say that this woman actually might be less intelligent than AOC. AOC, at least, she's a socialist, and I don't think socialists are all that intelligent, but there's a method to the madness. This other one who's coming up out of nowhere is just clearly an attention hog and wanted to get some kind of name recognition, which unfortunately for all of us, because we have to look and watch it, but it's actually pretty funny, so it's not that bad to watch. But she's getting this name recognition. She's like doing the cable tour after she pulled this little stunt.
I'd like to know if any of the Democrats
with
on this
MTG, you get some voices going on. So you get Jasmine Crockett out of Texas, then you get MTG, Majorie Taylor Greene, who starts the whole deal. In all fairness, this is like the catfight of all catfights. They needed some better costumes, I think. A catfight of all catfights. MTG starts it with a comment about fake eyelashes. Okay, I'm not condoning that, but my gosh, what the heck happened after that? It totally turned to chaos. And if you've seen this, watch it again. Watch it again and listen for Ms. Jasmine Crockett, because you're going to have to hear what she's saying now in response to this craziness.
I'd like to know if any of the Democrats on this committee are employing Judge Merchan's daughter.
Please tell me what that has to do with Merrick Garland.
Is she a porn star?
Oh, Goldman. That's right. He's advising. Okay.
He's advising who? What? Do you know what we're here for? We're here about AG.
I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
Mr. Chairman,
that's beneath
would
even
you
you
engage the order of your committee.
Order.
I do have a point of order, and I would like to move to take down Ms. Greene's words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you attack the physical appearance of another person?
Are your feelings hurt?
Her words down.
Aww.
Oh, girl, baby girl.
Oh, really?
Don't even play.
Baby girl? I don't think
we are going to move, and we're going to take your words down.
I second that motion.
So who will have to pay? Okay. Ms. Greene agrees to strike her words.
I believe she should apologize. No. She
Perry,
okay,
hold on. Then after Mr. Perry's going to be recognized, then Ms. Green
I'm not
has
apologizing.
Well, then
okay,
you're
reserve
not
the right to
striking your
object.
words.
I am
Mr.
not
Perry.
apologizing.
Now let's go. Come on, guys.
Why don't you debate me?
Mr. Chairman, the minority.
It's pretty self-evident.
You're not.
Yeah, you're not.
Out of order.
You don't have enough
You're out of order.
intelligence.
Chair recognizes Mr. Perry.
Okay, move to strike
I'd like to
I
strike
move to
those
strike the
words
lady's
as well.
words.
I would like to
Strike the
as
lady's
well.
words again.
That's 2 requests to strike. That's 2 requests to strike.
Oh, they cannot take the
There's
words.
another motion to strike her words again. Please
All right,
get
okay,
your members under
here's
control.
the correct parliament. Ms. Greene, do you agree to unanimous consent to strike your words?
I repeat again for the second time. Yes, I'll strike
right.
my words,
That-
but I'm not
all right.
apologizing.
Without objection. Without
Not
objection.
apologizing.
21 seconds.
Mr. Chair, point of order.
Who's
It's me.
Ms.
He
Crockett?
doesn't even know who she
I'm
is.
just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on
He's like,
this
"Wait, what?
committee
Who's
then
this?"
starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
Chairman,
What?
I make a motion to strike those
I
words.
don't think that's a
Hold on.
I'm
parliament.
trying to find clarification on what qualifies.
Chairman,
I didn't-
motion to
I
strike
had no
those
idea
words.
what you just said.
We're not gonna do this. Look, you guys earlier literally just
You just voted to do it.
Y'all did it first, so you don't want to talk about
voted to do it.
Order.
I'm trying to get clarification.
Look at calm down. Calm down.
No, because this
I
is
would
what
like
y'all
to get
do.
through proceedings.
So I'm trying
Hey,
to get
Ms.
clarification.
Crockett, you're not
Y'all wanna
recognized.
play
Ms.
games?
I can't hear
Crockett.
you with your.
Unbelievable, right? I mean, just totally unbelievable. I'm just looking at your chat, you guys. I mean, absolutely hysterical. So AOC is getting a run for her money from this Crockett girl who's just like, James Comer is like, who's talking? Who is this? And the comment was bad built butch body. I mean, oh my gosh, that was really lousy. Now, okay, so MTG made a false eyelash comment. Not great. But then AOC says, let's strike it from the record because we shouldn't be talking about people's appearances. And then a woman who's supposed to be on her side, a Democrat from Texas, Jasmine Crockett, now we know her name, like doubles down on the name calling and refers to Majorie Taylor Greene as having a bad built butch body, and then bleach blonde gets in there somewhere as well. I think Dan Goldman was sitting next to her and he kind of just sort of laughed like, come on, people. This is really, really, really bad. Not okay, all right? Like, you're just making yourself look worse. Unacceptable, not who we need in Congress. And yet this woman from Texas is patting herself on the back as though she did something great. And the scary thing is, you got the media going right along with it. I want to show you what the Los Angeles Times had to write about Jasmine Crockett. The brilliance of bleach blonde, bad built butch body. The brilliance. Can you imagine if a Republican said that about someone on the left? How crazy they'd all be. But the Los Angeles Times celebrates it. This Anita Chambria, this columnist, I'm not familiar with her, but let's go to her words, Drew. If we go to that article, she doubles down on it and says that bleach blonde, bad built butch body, if you don't know, is the ultimate viral diss. Today we're talking B6, not the vitamin, but the viral diss. And then she says, oh, I'll add a 7th B to that. Brilliant. My gosh. So this Crockett girl's being so celebrated that she's all over the liberal airwaves right now, making the rounds at MSNBC and CNN. Let's go to CNN first, talking to Jake Tapper, who's about to moderate a debate with the former president of the United States and the current president of the United States. Here's Jake.
Is there anything you think should happen here? Do you think that Congresswoman Greene should face any sort of punishment?
I mean, she didn't face any at the time, so I don't anticipate that she'll face any in general. I mean, I think that this speaker should be inclined to try to rein her in after trying to kick him out of his position. But they just let Marjorie do whatever she wants to do. And I think this was the first time that someone actually said, no, you won't just treat me whatever way you want to and get away with it.
So just to explain to our viewers, she said what she said, which is a personal attack on your appearance. And then the Republicans refused to take her words away.
Yeah.
Because they said it wasn't a personal attack. And then you said something about, you didn't mention her name, but you obviously were talking about Congresswoman Greene, bleach blonde, bad built, butch body.
Very good.
So it's tough to say. But you've really embraced what you said. You're printing it on swag. I think we have an image of the shirt here that you're selling to help raise money to elect Democrats. How would you respond to say it's inappropriate
Oh my gosh,
to
they better get a
respond to an
t-shirt.
attack on somebody's physical appearance? And you hear Congresswoman AOC say, you know, you shouldn't be attacking somebody's physical appearance, but then you did the same thing. You attacked her physical.
So to
Exactly.
be clear, what I asked for was clarification on the ruling. If her words were taken down, that meant that she was going to have to leave the committee for the evening, which actually would have helped everybody out because the source of the chaos is always Majorie Taylor Greene. But the chairman was concerned about his votes.
Okay.
He was
Like, two
concerned
wrongs do
about
not
whether
make a
or not
right,
he
girl.
would be able to move forward with contempt. And so therefore,
It's contempt of, they were the
Of Merrick Garland.
for the Attorney General Garland.
absolutely. So therefore, I'm like, what are we doing? So what are the parameters? And I generally wanted to know. So I did not.
Oh,
state
please. No, you
anything-
didn't. You didn't care about any of that. I can't listen to that woman anymore. All right. One more, because now she's like blaming it on race somehow. It all comes back to that, right? Give me a break. Here we go. Here she is on MSNBC.
So took this as an opportunity to again flex on MAGA and let them know that I will always be smarter than you. You can call me a DEI hire all you want to and lodge all the other insults that they continuously lodge against me. But she is no match for me when it comes to intellect. She just decided, oh, you know what? I've got privilege, so I'm just going to say whatever I want to say and then lean back. And that's exactly what she did. And she knew that she would face no consequences, or at least she thought she would face no consequences. I refuse to be somebody's doormat. And anybody suggesting that I should, I need you to look in the mirror and maybe check yourself.
Oh, girl, baby girl. Time for language like that, right? Oh my gosh, this Jasmine Crockett selling the whole Crockett of stuff, shall we say. All right. Hey, I am so happy you're all here. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you make a comment. I'm running out. I got to catch a plane. I'm going to be live with you tomorrow, though, from Timbuktu. Let's see if you can guess where I am tomorrow. I won't be here at home base, but I'm going to run to the airport. I love having you all here. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, do all the good stuff. Dawn's going to get on your case about it if we don't hit 1,000. So, you know, no pressure or anything on those likes. Good to see you. I'll see you back, not specifically here tomorrow. Let's make it a surprise. I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.